going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It is, I don't know what day it is. I think it's Friday, June 6th, I think. Let me take a look here on my. Yep, it's June 6th. Today, you're going to see a whole bunch of videos pop up. I'm just burning through all the stuff I shot sat down and recorded in May. And since I moved into this place, I haven't recorded more than one thing a day. I'll take you on a tour here. It's not a whole lot better than the last time you saw, but it's just every day it gets better. That's one of the fun things about moving. It's a pain in the ass, but at the same time you get to watch chaos become order. You know, the powers that be, they like to use order. They like to create the chaos. Our leaders in government, one of their sayings that they like to live by is order out of chaos. They create the chaos so that they can create order as a result of it, but that order is always going to be a bunch of bullshit that we, the people, would never put up with if it weren't for the chaos that they created in the first place. For example, the Patriot Act. Nobody in America would have supported our government, creating laws that allow them to just snoop on you, read all of your text messages, listen in on all your phone calls, have access to your bank account and see everything that you do. Every aspect of your life being an open book to their snooping eyes whenever they want. If you don't believe me, I don't give a fuck. When I was sitting in jail, I was handed a laptop from the public defender, and on that laptop was a 600,000 page PDF document that listed every single thing I ever did on my phone. Every single text message, phone call, everything you could imagine. We used to sit in one guy used to have everybody come sit in his cell and gather around while he would play on a laptop all of his phone call recordings that the FBI gave him. There was some funny stuff. It was entertaining. It was like theater time. So you might think, well, why do prisoners in jail get a laptop? The only thing you can use the laptop for is your legal case. And this doesn't happen in every jail. It was the jail that I was in. Your lawyer gives you all the discovery material that the government has for you, and they just hand it to you on a laptop. But that laptop is locked down. I could open a PDF document. I could put it this way. I typed up documents for my lawyer using, I think it was the open source version of Microsoft Word. I can't remember the name of the Open Office that was on the laptop. There wasn't much else. You couldn't even set the clock to the right time. It was nothing. And you could only get access to the laptop at certain times of the day. You'd have to sign up on a list the night before, the day before. Then they'd bring the laptops, and you would go down and sign out the laptop. It would be for you and you alone. You're not allowed to share it. You're not allowed to let anybody else look at it. But it's your legal documents. But I typed up stuff for my lawyer on that laptop, and I was not able to give that to my lawyer because there's no way to get it from the laptop to the lawyer. I asked if they could give me a flash drive to put it on, and the lawyer said, no, we can't pass a flash drive back and forth. So I had to use a pencil and a piece of paper to write everything out on paper with a pencil. And in this jail, they only gave us golf pencils. Literally, like putt-putt golf, short little dinky pencils. I'd have to buy I'd have to buy 10 pencils at a time, and the only paper you could get was plain white paper with no lines on it. So I would have to handwrite with a golf pencil 60 pages worth of crap to hand over to my lawyer instead of just being able to type it up somehow. I shared in a couple of other videos about how in federal prison, which is different, if you want to send letters to your lawyer or, court documents or whatever, you have to do it on a typewriter, a manual typewriter. And you have to buy the paper, you have to buy the ribbons. Like, the whole thing is a fucking joke. There's absolutely no reason, because they have a messaging system either on these tablets or on computers where people outside the jail can message you and vice versa. Now, for confidentiality, the lawyers don't want you sending messages through that system. A lawyer won't even accept a message that you send them through that system because they're being monitored. But they could set something up. It is possible to set something up like that, where you could communicate with your lawyer. But, snooping eyes can read all those messages. They're not supposed to read when they search your cell, when they search your belongings, they're not supposed to read your legal documents. They do. They all do. I sit there and watch. They're not allowed. They can't just sit there and look at it for an hour and read everything. You could probably use that as grounds to win a lawsuit, to get the upper hand in your case, etc. But they do go through your legal documents and read stuff, and the whole thing's a fucking scam. It's not even what I wanted to talk about today, but for whatever reason, if I don't have notes in front of me, then it's just going to go whatever way it goes. And I think it's going to be funny because a lot of people are going to call me out for not having curtains on the windows. And the whole time I was in the tiny house, I never pulled the curtains away from the windows. And so, once again, it doesn't matter what you do. It does not matter what you do. In fact, I guarantee between when I record this video and when you see the video, people will have already left comments about how I have to put curtains on the windows. Guaranteed. So, the only point I'm trying to make with some of these comments and observations is that it does not matter. It does not matter if you woke up one day and said, I want to do YouTube. I want to put myself out there. I want to get on social media. I've got an idea for a business I want to start. I want to go on Etsy and start making arts and crafts and selling selling something I'm good at making. You're going to have all kinds of people telling you you're a fucking idiot. Especially those closest to you. family, friends, those kinds of things, they'll be the first ones to shit all over your parade. They're going to be the first ones dropping a deuce in the punch bowl and ruining your day. So I'm just here to tell you that. I went to art school when I was 18 years old at the time. Just got out of high school. I can't tell you how many times people in my family and other people were like, that's a waste of time. Why are you doing that? You're never going to make any money doing that. Why you're just wasting your life, and why would you go and do something stupid like that, etc., etc., etc. Now, just keep in mind that if it weren't for my felony, I'd be making 150 to 200K per year right now. Maybe more than that, I don't know. Yeah, it was such a waste of time to go to fucking art school and learn, how to improve skills that I already had, but be able to make them marketable and useful in the business world. It was a real stupid decision there. I just got offered a job making $120,000 a year. I had the contract in my hand. The email came. It said, you're starting next Monday, which would be 3 days from now. You're starting on Monday. You need to fill out this paperwork, that, all the tax forms, all that stuff was. Oh, and by the way, we need to do a background check. No big deal, right? They presented it to me as like one line of text. We also need to do a background check. As if it was going to be no big deal. Of course he doesn't have anything in his background. Why would he even apply to a job like this if he was one of those? That's the attitude they had. But I wouldn't be able to get job offers like that without the education that I received, when I was 18 years old, making all those stupid decisions. To be honest, I wouldn't be able to survive right now. I would not be in this apartment right now. I probably wouldn't have a home. I would possibly be living in a homeless shelter or be back in prison. Who knows? The only reason I'm able to survive right now, some fucking dingbat. There's this fucking retard from Poland, I guess. That's what it looks like. He shows up on every video to make some dumbass, hateful comment. But I'm not going to kick him off. Because, whatever. I hate back. No big deal. Every time I leave a comment in response to his comment, YouTube deletes my comment and leaves his comment. If that tells you anything about YouTube. But one day I told him, I said, you're the reason, children like you are the reason why I support a woman's right to choose. And then I said something about, when Vladimir Putin is done with Ukraine, maybe he'll come to your country next, and then you'll have something better to do than watch these dumb videos on YouTube all day just so you can make some retarded ass comment. And they deleted they deleted both of those comments that I made, probably because he's a crybaby bitch, and reported them as, oh my god, someone's making fun of me. He's like one of those people that runs around, poking the bear, but then cries when the bear gets mad and bites back. So, whatever. I don't even know what I was talking about when I went on that tangent, but yeah, it was really stupid. Well, he made a comment the other day about how I make my living, or I don't know. He was basically making fun of me for having a job at a bakery, and he basically said, that's all you do. If that was all I do, I wouldn't be able to have a place to live. You don't make enough at a place like that to survive. That's a job for high school kids to get money to go out partying and drink beer on the weekends and put gas in mom and dad's car. That's not a job that would allow you. You're not going to survive on $10 an hour. You can't. I wouldn't have been able to pay the rent at the tiny house I just moved out of if that was all I did. I mean, I would bust my ass if I worked that job 40 hours a week, which is all they would let me work. Um, they don't let anybody work overtime. Why, I don't know. Um, they don't let anybody work overtime, so it's 40 hours at the most. Usually it's about 30. If I really wanted to make my availability wide open, I'd probably get around 30 hours a week. But if I worked 40 hours a week, I'd be lucky to come home at the end of the month with $1,500. So I have to do other things. And the things that pay my bill, right now I'm working at the bakery 2 days a week, dingbat. How do you think I'm paying for all this shit? Not that, all this shit is like some lavish lifestyle. I'm still in survival mode. When I look around and I see the things I do have, 90, 80, 85% of it is stuff I brought with me from Pittsburgh when I moved to Houston. Just stuffing whatever I could fit in the back of a minivan and leaving behind the rest. And a few things that I've picked up along the way since I've been here. But I wouldn't be able to do any of that if I wasn't doing other work. So right now, the bulk of my living comes from the freelance work that I'm doing. And it's very heavily based on one or two clients right now. I'm hoping that today's goal for the house is to get my office pretty much set up. Everything wired up, all the hard drives, all the mounting a monitor to the wall. Basically having it the same setup as I had in the tiny house. But it's going to involve, it's going to take some time and work. It sucks because I really need to be buckled down and doing billable hours, and I've done a few. I'm all caught up on the digital chores that I have to do, because I had to fill out some stuff for probation, and in order to do that, I had to get caught up on all those, organizational tasks. But the freelance is what's allowing me to live right now. There's no doubt about that. I can build that to where it's a lucrative income, but right now it's just a survival income. Barely surviving. Yes, I'm in a better place right now than I was last week at this time. Last week at this time, I was right at this moment, a week ago, I was preparing for that job interview. And then I was packing to leave. If I compare the level of stress and anxiety I felt a week ago with what I'm feeling right now, there's no comparison at all. I'm much more relaxed right now. In spite of having lost that job, I never looked at it as I had it. The whole time I was ever talking about that job opportunity, I kept saying, I'm like, it's not real until the money's in the bank. I'll go through the motions, but I'm not going to be attached to the outcome. It's going to be whatever it is. I've been rejected by enough jobs now for having a criminal record that I expect I will never get another job again, if I'm being honest. Um, they, you know, DoorDash can't even. People keep telling me I should go be a trucker. I got more. Why don't you just go be a trucker? Comments. What the fuck is it about driving a truck that because once in a while a convicted felon can drive a big rig? I don't get it. DoorDash won't even let me go pick up a bag of food on a fucking bicycle and take it from a restaurant to someone's house. But you seem to think that a big rig company is going to give me the keys to an 18-wheeler and let me drive it all over the fucking country. Like, just fucking use some common sense. I mean, whatever. It's fine. But you know what it is? Whenever I get this, like, why don't you just go be a trucker comment? You remember when Joe Biden basically canceled all the oil pipelines and shut down the energy business? And, when people were saying, well, what about all these people that are going to lose their jobs? What did they say? Oh, go learn to code. Just go learn to code. And that became the most offensive thing that was ever said to blue-collar America. Oh, just go learn to code. Like, and I would have been offended too if I was an oil worker or a truck driver, or if my livelihood depended on energy and the Democrats went and pulled the plug on my fucking career and then told me, why don't you just go learn to code? Just go learn to code. And then the sad thing is, if you did go learn to code, you'd find out that you can't get a job coding because all the programmers are from India now. Now that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are having their beef. Now, keep in mind, this is day 2 of the 3-day news cycle, and their beef started yesterday. So tomorrow they'll have one more day of beef, which is Saturday. And then Sunday there'll be some new dumb shit for everybody to talk about, and everybody's going to forget about Donald Trump and Elon Musk breaking up. But we're on day 2 of the 3-day news cycle. So I'm just saying, hey, now that you guys broke up, hey, Donald, why don't you send all the programmers back to India so that American workers can get programming jobs again? And then all of those oil workers, those steel workers, those pipeline workers, everybody who lost their job and had to go learn to code, they can go get jobs as programmers now. Because right now you can't even get a job as a programmer, because they import all of these people from India on these H-1B visas, and they hire these people for pennies on the dollar compared to what an American would make for the job. And it accomplishes 2 or 3 things. The first thing it does, it's a source of labor that's dirt cheap. Import these people from another country, pay them 1/3 the price that you would pay an American, save money. Even if the quality sucks of their work or they're slow, you can hire 3 of them for the price of 1 American. No, that's the first thing. Number 2, you essentially have borderline slave labor, because when you bring somebody from another country on a visa like that, that person is not free to just go job shopping. If that person from India doesn't like their job, or doesn't like the way they're being treated, or doesn't like the fact that their American counterparts make 3 times more than they do, they can't go. There's no free market for them to go find a new job. That visa ties the worker to that company. And in order for the worker to go get a different job at a different company, that other company would have to sponsor them and do all the visa paperwork in order for them to go work at another company. So those visas tie them. And because of that, if they try to move and go to another company, the other company's just going to lowball them anyway, because they're all in the same. It's all in the same club. So they're stuck. They're stuck here. In some cases, they live in company-sponsored housing. They shop. They're basically, it's basically the same shit as the coal mines of West Virginia, where you live in the company housing and shop at the company store. And so all the money that they do pay the people from India comes right back into their pockets. It's a form of feudalism at most. It's a borderline slavery. And then the third thing it accomplishes is it drives the wages down here in America, because the American workers who were getting paid 3 times more than these people from India are making, they have to be willing to accept lower and lower and lower pay if they want to get a job again. Because now they have to compete with people who are willing to do the job for 1/3 of what the market rate was for that job. But this is all shit that should be illegal. It should be illegal to import slaves from another country to come and work for your company where you own them as indentured servants, as a means to drive the market cap down for the going rate of a job. And programming is not the only place where this is happening. It's happening with truck drivers. It's happening, go drive a truck. You know how many truck drivers are driving around this country right now that don't speak any English? And they're coming from China, from Mexico, and from tons of other places. Every time, it's not like I've spent a lot of time riding a Greyhound bus, but every Greyhound bus I did ride, not one driver spoke English. They're all from China. And look, I'm not opposed to people coming to America from other countries. I'm opposed to importing people illegally from other countries to saturate this country with people who are basically willing to do slave labor and completely destroy the job market, among other things, and vote for Democrats. 20 million people came into this country in 4 years illegally. And now imagine, like, how many people per day do you have to get rid of and send back to their countries just to get rid of the ones that they imported? So, and they're trying to, in all these Democrat blue states, are trying to give these people the right to vote. They're not even here legally in the first place. They're trying to give these people the right to vote. And you know who they're going to vote for when they get that right to vote. So anyway, politics, whatever at this point. I got other shit to worry about and get through my day. But this has an effect on all of us. It's not, I was talking about DoorDash, for example. DoorDash. They won't let me pick up a bag of food from a McDonald's and take it to someone's house on a bicycle, even though DoorDash does bicycle delivery. So it's not just cars. And in fact, if I'm riding a bicycle to do DoorDash, then all the money's going in my pocket. I'm not spending money on gasoline and car repairs at that point. Just bicycle maintenance and repairs. And Gatorade for my health, for my thirst. So DoorDash won't let me pick up a bag of food and take it to someone's house. But I work at a bakery. DoorDash comes to the bakery all day long. Not one single person that walks in that door for a DoorDash order speaks English. Or if I'm not being sarcastic, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 don't speak one word of English. One DoorDash driver was asking me if I had a spoon, and it took us 10 minutes to figure out what he was asking for. I held up a fork. I said, "We have forks." He's like, "No, no." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, "What the fuck, dude?" I'm telling you, Donald Trump, ICE, if you want to catch the illegal immigrants in Houston, just sit outside the fast food restaurants. Just sit outside and wait for a DoorDash driver to come out with a bag of food. All you gotta do is walk up to them, ask them a question in English. When they don't understand what you're saying and they can't answer you in English, take them to the paddy wagon, take them down to the station, and figure shit out from there. I'm telling you, you'll get 2/3 of the illegal immigrants out of Houston just by doing that. Illegal immigrants have no trouble getting a job doing DoorDash. But an American who said mean shit on Twitter, no. DoorDash would be more likely to let a convicted child molester deliver Happy Meals to a fucking nursery school than they would to let me get on a bicycle and take a bag of food to somebody. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. They would probably allow somebody who stole food from DoorDash orders and went to jail for it sign back up and do DoorDash again before they would let the guy who said mean shit on Twitter deliver food with DoorDash. It's fucking retarded. I'm just gonna say it. It's fucking bullshit. That you won't give somebody a chance, not even, it's, like, I get it. Like, if I owned a company, I would want to know some shit about the people I'm hiring. I'd probably run background checks. But would I be blind and just look at the result of the background check and say no automatically? I don't think I could. And this has nothing to do with me. And the reason I say this is because in my past, I've had to hire people, I've had to do things, and I have found out that people have done questionable things. Let's just leave it at that. And they were good people. You hire someone to mow your lawn, for example, and you are running, the probability is at least 50-50 that the person coming to mow your lawn did something. There was one time I hired a guy to mow my lawn, or I was thinking about it. I found a Craigslist ad. The guy, he said he was going to come over. I don't even think I gave him my address yet. I don't know how this happened. But anyway, the guy, I reached out to him through a Craigslist ad. He responded. I was about to send him my address so he could come and take a look at the property and see, give me a price. And I don't remember what it was, but something Spidey sense or something the guy said, something, I don't know. Something told me, look up this guy's name. And I looked up his name and I saw that he had just gotten out of prison for beating the shit out of an elderly woman, and robbing her at an ATM. And I was like, no. I didn't respond to the guy. As soon as I saw that, I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need this guy coming over. I don't want this guy to know where I live. He beat the shit out of an elderly woman and stole her money at an ATM. The news media described it as he pretended he was waiting in line to use the ATM, and as soon as the woman withdrew her cash, he beat the fucking piss out of her and left with her money in her purse. And then he did a bid in prison for that. Good. So he beat the shit out of an elderly woman and robbed her, and he probably did some other things. And I was like, you know what, I had a little, my son was very young at the time. I'm like, I don't need this shit. So I looked for another guy to come mow the lawn, and I felt, he gave me a better vibe. So I was paying him to come mow the lawn. He may have been suggested by the property owner. Oh, I know somebody, blah, blah, blah. And so there was a little more like trust involved there. But I found out he did some stuff. He didn't beat the shit out of an elderly woman and rob her at an ATM. And then I hired another guy when I was living out in the Amish country. I had a huge yard, and I had a push mower. I got a push mower on Craigslist for like $10 just to get started. But this yard was so big that it was 3 hours. If you went out with a push mower to mow this yard, you were gonna be out there mowing the yard for 3 hours. That's like 5 o'clock when I'm done working. You're out there till the sun goes down. Like the grass on the opposite side of the yard is already gonna be grown by the time you're done with the other side of the yard. It got to the point with the push mower that I would mow the yard in patches. I would do like once a week, I would do the front yard, which was a small area because I had to walk from the house to my office across this front yard. And it was a pretty small area. I could do that in like 20 minutes, 15 minutes with the push mower, 15 minutes. 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and that includes, gassing up the mower, getting it out, all the stuff, not just mowing. I would do that, and then I would let the other parts of the yard I'd let them go and do those. Some of the parts of the yard I would do once every 2 weeks. Some of the parts of the yard I would do like once every 3 weeks, whatever. I would pick a part of the yard that looked the worst and go do that part. But I never had 3 hours to go out and do this. And so I'm sitting here, I'm like, what do I do? Do I get a riding lawnmower and spend the money on that, plus, having to fix it when it breaks, etc., etc. I had a garage at this place. So getting a riding lawnmower was not out of the question, but they're expensive. Even a used one. I know they're pretty reliable. I grew up with big yards. I grew up in farm country. My grandfather would have a riding lawnmower for 30 years and never really need to fix it. So, other than basic maintenance, and he'd always buy this stuff used. So, but even so, it's expensive. I'm like, if I can find the right price. So I called this one lawn company. They came over. They walked around. They said $200 per cut, and we have to come every week because our equipment we can't let the grass get too tall because it'll dull our blades or whatever. They wanted $200 a week, like $800 a month to mow my yard, and I was like, that's fucking ridiculous. But it was a situation where they didn't want to do it for whatever reason. They just didn't like what they saw. Like they want to go and mow like big properties like schools and businesses and stuff like that. They saw my yard. They just gave me a really high price knowing that I would say no, piss off. So the landlord at the time, he had a friend and he asked the friend and the friend said, "Yeah, I'll do it." It was like 40 bucks a cut. He would come every 2 weeks. I lived out in the country, Amish country. The dude would drive his lawnmower down the road and show up at my house and do it. And then I'd just give him like 40, 50 bucks cash. He'd show up, do the yard, be on his way. And that was cool. I was cool with that. 50 to 100, 100 bucks a month. He wasn't like on, he wasn't Johnny on the spot. Sometimes the lawn, sometimes I'd go a few weeks and be like, yo, when's the dude coming? And, that kind of stuff. Well, unfortunately, he passed away. He was retired. This was kind of like, he was just doing a little side job, make a little extra cash. But he passed away. And I found out from the property owner that I was renting it from. He just said, hey, just thought I'd let you know, so and so passed away last week. Not because, because I liked the guy. It wasn't because, you're going to have to find someone else to mow your lawn. It was more like he was a nice guy. I liked him. I liked him for other reasons. He told me all kinds of stuff about the neighborhood and about the property I lived on and the people that built it. And like, oh, this guy was like really cool. And so I had to find another person to mow my lawn. So I called this other lawn mowing company that's listed, comes over. He's like, I think it was like, 60 bucks a cut. I'll come twice a month. I'm like, all right, sounds good. And I looked him, he did a good job. He was professional. He showed up, he had a trailer, he had good equipment and whatnot, and he was pretty professional. But I looked him up, and he had some sort of, there was things that popped up about him, but I didn't, I wasn't judgmental. He came and did the lawn. He did what he was supposed to do. It was easy to deal with. Did a good job. No problem. No problem. Then he just vanished. I don't know what happened to him. He stopped showing up, and his phone, he never picked up he just vanished. And he vanished to the point where on Yelp and comments like that, other people were chiming in saying that he just vanished. So I don't know, maybe he did something, maybe he got scooped up by the law. I don't know. I kind of felt like it was weird. I was a little upset because I'm like, crap, now what do I do? Like, he was supposed to be here to mow the lawn and he didn't show. And then another week goes by and I'm trying to get a hold of him and he's like non-existent. I don't even remember his name or the name of his company anymore to see if he still has a website. But he had a website, just like, basic one pager. But he was doing pretty well because I talked to him and he was telling me about the different jobs that he does, and you can make good money doing that. Some people have suggested that I do that. And would I be opposed to that? No, especially here in Houston, because back in Pennsylvania, that's a seasonal job. That's, that's May, June, July, April, maybe April. April's kind of hit or miss, but April, May, June, July, August, September, October. It's like 7 months out of the year. 5 months out of the year, you're out of business. What are you going to do? Plow, snow plow. But then that only covers the winter. Like, there's seasonal. That's part of the reason why I didn't want to own a bike shop, a bicycle shop, because the one time I almost did buy a brick and mortar bicycle shop that was a turnkey business, it would have been $10,000 for me to just take over and run with it. Everything in the shop, all the rental bicycles in the shop, and everything else that came with it, you know, cash registers, computer, all the business assets. The only thing I didn't own would be the building. I'd have to pay rent to the city of Pittsburgh because it was a steel frame building in a park next to a parking garage that the city built and was renting out to them. And so I would have had to pay rent to the city of Pittsburgh for that space, and it was reasonable. And that included all the utilities, so it was a set fee. But I'm like, if I drop 10 grand on this bike shop and have to pay the bills all winter long, because this was in September that they were selling it, I'm like, I'm going to go into business and then have to go all winter without having a single customer, paying bills and basically getting prepared for the spring. But what do I do in the meantime? And then I basically have April, May, June, let's say May, June, July, August. I got 4 months, Labor Day to Memorial Day, or Memorial Day to Labor Day. I always get them confused, but Memorial Day to Labor Day, you know, the summer season, that's it. I got to make all the money during that period of time and then ride the rest of the winter broke, not making anything. And I know this because I worked in bike shops. During the winter, you may as well not even open the doors. You could go a week, you could go 2 weeks without having a single customer of any kind in a bicycle shop over the winter. A lot of bicycle shops just outright close for the winter, shut the doors, turn off the lights, and just close. You usually have to do something else to stay viable during the winter, like skis, winter sports, ice skates and skis. And if you don't do that, good luck. Here in Houston seems to be a little more viable as a year-round business. But during, people down here, the thing about down here is that 70 degrees is like Arctic freeze to people that are, living in Houston their whole lives. So I assume if it's below 70 degrees, these people don't want to go out and ride their bike. It's the same as when there's snow in New York. Nobody wants to ride their bike in the snow. So the cycling business, it's very, you can make money doing it, but it's hard and it's seasonal. You gotta find some other way to make money in the winter. Same with lawn mowing. So that's something that people have suggested. Go drive a truck. Why don't you get a lawnmower and start mowing lawns? The lawnmower investment, that one's a little more viable, especially in a neighborhood like where I live. A push mower can, a single push mower and a string trimmer, get a little thing. I could walk around the neighborhood and do that. People have suggested to do that. It's not a bad idea. It's not that dumb of an idea. A lot of ex-cons end up doing lawn mowing businesses. So the guy disappeared, the guy that I hired to do my lawn. And another guy, I don't know how I found him, to be honest, but I found another guy to come do the lawn. I honestly, I don't even know how I found the guy. I don't know if it was word of mouth or if it was like some sort of ad that he ran. I don't recall him having a website. Really cool guy, really nice guy. I don't even know if he had I never looked him up in that respect. He was probably the best guy I hired to do the lawn. He was the one who bought my Mini Cooper when I sold it. Really nice guy. But he hired this one day he hired this girl. He showed up with this. I mean, she was like smoking hot. She was like a straight up 9. And I was like, I just thought it was strange because smoking hot chicks don't mow lawns. Like, that's not a hot chick job. I'm sorry, but it's not. You don't see smoking hot 9s and 10s doing manual labor. When a smoking hot 9 or a 10 goes to work at a restaurant, what is she? She's the greeter. She's the first person you see when you walk in the restaurant. She's not working back in the kitchen getting all fucking dirty and busting her ass all day. She's sitting at the front desk doing her nails, making sure she looks hot, so when the customers come in, they don't see some ugly troll sitting at the desk. Some hot chick's gonna take you to the table. This is restaurant 101. You put the ugly people in the kitchen, you put the hot people up front. That's restaurant. That's how it works. I don't care if it makes me sound sexist. It's truth. I'm telling you the truth. This is how restaurants are run. Go to a restaurant tomorrow. If there's an ugly girl, she's gonna be bussing tables. She's the one who shows up after you eat, takes all the dirty dishes off the table, puts them in a bucket, takes them back to the kitchen, probably washes them herself. The hot chick is the one that's up front when you walk in the door, the one that says how many people are in your party, tells you how long of a wait it's going to be, and then she's the one who leads you to the table. The waiters and waitresses are the ones that look fairly decent. They're clean cut. They're they're not ugly. They're presentable. And they have personality. And they're smart enough to be able to take your order and remember, and they can interact with people pretty well. The dirty, nasty, crass, pirate mouth, unshaven, unkept people are the ones working back in the kitchen. So, call me sexist all you want. Go to every fucking restaurant you go to, you're going to find out I just told you the truth. So, you don't see hot chicks mowing lawns for a living. You don't see a smoking hot babe mowing lawns when she could be making 60 grand a month on OnlyFans. That's all I'm saying. But in this case, I'm like, this don't make sense. What's this hot chick doing mowing my yard? How did this happen? And so I brought it up with the guy. I don't know. I was tactful about it. But he knew why I was asking him. And he said something to the effect of she got in trouble with the law. Something about drugs. He said it was complete bullshit. That it was like, I don't know if this is exactly what he told me, but something to the effect of like her boyfriend was was dealing drugs or something like that, and then she got blamed for being a part of it or something and got a bunch of charges, but she didn't do it. And she like supposedly she was innocent, and she got all but basically she has a criminal record now and nobody will hire her. She can't get a job anywhere. So he hired her to come mow lawns. And he said, yeah, I'm training her and I'm getting her up to speed. And at some point, I'm just going to let her go. I don't have to. He's like, I'm trying to bring people on board with my company so that, I don't have to go and mow all the lawns. I can just, have people go do it while I sit back and just, manage things. He was trying to grow his business. And so he had other people that he hired, but when he showed up with this hottie, I'm like, yo, that something's not right here. But he hired her because she had a criminal record and she couldn't get a job doing anything. He said that everywhere she went, nobody would give her the time of day because she had this black mark on her record. But I mean, I didn't really talk to her much. Hey, how you doing? Good job. Thanks for coming. That kind of stuff. But very friendly, professional. No problems. It just pisses me off that people aren't willing to look past the results of a background check. They do the background check and they're like, "Oh, that's it. Black mark. Done. We're not going to we're not going to talk anymore. It's over." And, not everybody that has a criminal record is a piece of shit who's worthless and unworthy of working for your company. In fact, a lot of people who have a criminal record would probably be the best person that you ever hired for the job if you would just give them a chance. Now, my previous slumlord would not be somebody that you would hire. You could not trust that guy. Now, if you look at his criminal record, it's just theft, burglary, robbery, scam, fraud, blah, prostitution, blah, blah, blah. The more you dig on that guy, the more you find. I found lawsuit after lawsuit. He was sued by the state of Texas. He was sued by some other entity. Bunch of different lawsuits. He's divorced. Like, all this stuff shows up, and it's like every time. Now, I'm done looking this guy up. I'm not living in the past, but I'm just saying that every time I did a Google search, I found something new. And I was like, holy shit. No, I wouldn't hire him. I wouldn't trust a word. I wouldn't believe a word that fucker says. I gave him a chance. I gave him the benefit of the doubt when he wouldn't fix the hot water for 3 months. And I was still 2 months into the 3 months. I was still giving this piece of shit the benefit of the doubt on the hot water situation that he would fix it. But then when he came at me and threatened me, game over. Game over. The day he came and threatened me was the day I started looking for a new place to live. And I dug deep. I just said, this is it. I really tried to get out of there by the end of April, but financially, I could have moved into this place at the end of April and I could have financially pulled it off. But it would have been extremely hard. It was a lot easier to do it at the end of May than it was at the end of April. For 10 different reasons. I'm glad I did it the way I did it. And I needed to prove to myself that, I needed to make sure I couldn't find a better place. I got better at looking at places. Now I generally know if I have to do this again. When I first moved here to Houston, I couldn't find shit. But I got a little bit more savvy at using the tools that are available to find what I'm looking for. And I did have, one of the super fans on the channel was helping me out a little bit. Shout out to her. Definitely helped out a little bit there. Sending me, doing searches, and if she found a place that I'd be interested in, she'd be like, hey, check this out. A couple, I did go and look, one of them I did go and look at. In fact, the 2-story garage apartment was one that she sent me. Probably would have found it on my own, but she had also sent it to me. But anyway, I'm glad everything worked out the way it did. But no, I would not trust that guy, that shady scumbag slumlord. But I was willing to give it I didn't know anything about the guy. I thought he was... See, when I first moved into the place, and I first met him, and I first saw the place, obviously you're going to walk into a place like that and see why he didn't put any pictures of the inside of it on Craigslist. And so that bothered me from day one. And I knew just by looking at the place and just noticing how much of a cheapskate he was, that this wasn't going to be a great place at all, and that he was going to be somebody who, if something needs fixed, he's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with about that. I knew that. I could tell just from looking at it. But here's what he's doing. So he's got that place listed on Craigslist right now for $900 a month. I'm paying $950 a month for this. This place that I'm in right now is 100 times better than that in so many ways you can't even count. He's not going to get somebody to move in there for $900 a month. I guarantee he's overpriced. He thinks he's got the hottest property in Houston, and it's not. I was paying $750 a month, all utilities included, when I moved in there. That's the right price for that space. That is priced correctly for the market that it's in. For that price, for $750, you're going to be hard pressed to find anything else that would be better than that. You're gonna look at a bunch of bullshit and crap, and it's either gonna be a nice place that's super small, a big place that's a total shithole and a dump, or that. Now he's priced up. He's bumped up the price to where it's he's not gonna find somebody, because people are gonna go and look at multiple properties and they're gonna see his and go, wow, what a fucking joke, and they're gonna pass on it. So that thing's going to be vacant for a while, and what he's going to do, he's going to lower the price back down to $750 because he can't get someone to take it. He's going to get a tenant to move into that place, and then 2 months into that new tenant's lease, he's going to turn around and raise the rent and say, now you owe me $900. Gotcha. And he's going to count on the fact that people will just bend over and take it instead of fighting back. Because it's hard to pack your shit up and move again, and it's a hassle, and it's hard to find a new place, and all these different things. But I moved in there because of the price. The price was what did it. Because that for that price, I can survive and get on my feet. This is a little bit more difficult where I am right now. I gotta step up my game just to be able to make rent next month. The end of this month, you know what I'm saying? So I know I can do it. It reminds me, I got some things to do today, but I know I can do it because you know, you just got to keep climbing the ladder, I guess. But what was I saying? What was I trying to get to? But no, for what this guy's trying to get for that place, it's ridiculous. And I have the Craigslist ad bookmarked, so I'm just gonna check and see how long it stays listed. And he'll take the thing down as soon as he has money for someone to move in there. But I'm gonna watch, because I have a feeling after about a month, he's gonna lower the price, and he's going to lower the price again. And I'm going to mark on a calendar when he lowers the price, and I'm just going to watch. Because then the ad will disappear, and then I'm going to watch. 2 months after the ad disappears, it'll be back up, jacked up to the price that he wants to get again. And that'll be the time when he's trying to scam the next tenant into paying him more rent and trying to bully it out of him. You don't bully me. you think you're going to bully me and win? You're not going to win. You don't fuck with someone who's smarter than you. So he got fucked. He's making less money. He was set to make a certain amount of money in 6 months until that lease expired, and then he could have said, I'm raising the rent. And at that point, I would have said, Okay, I'll pay the extra rent, but we're doing a month-to-month lease at this point, and I'll give you 30 days notice when it's time for me to leave. And I would have done it, legit. I would have stuck to that agreement, but not the way he treated me. Fuck that shit. So I ditched that motherfucker and left him hanging on the last day of the month. Oh, by the way, I'm not paying rent next month. See you later, bitch. But he didn't fix the hot water for 3 months. He raised the rent, tried to raise the rent in the middle of the lease term, which is illegal. Two things that are illegal. He threatened to throw me out in the street without going through the eviction process. That's three things that he did that were illegal. And I could come up with like 5 or 6 other things that he did that were completely illegal, including coming into the apartment whenever I would go to work, reaching up and taking the camera down off the wall. And because it wasn't bolted to the wall, it was just leaned up against. It was kind of just propped up there. And in a way where you could, where I could see everything, but it wasn't like a permanent fixture. He would just walk in there and pull it down. And then go do whatever the hell he felt like doing in there. But, a landlord should not feel like they can just waltz into your place anytime they feel like it without letting you know. Like, yes, that's their property, but that's your property too. When you sign that lease, you are the property owner in terms of trespassing in the law and stuff like that. The landlord, by law, is only really allowed to go in there for like an emergency. If you're not home and they see water coming out the front door, they can go in there and like fix the water leak or, whatever it is. But they're not just allowed to. The Texas law is a little bit vague on that. But there is a law that says you are supposed to be able to have quiet enjoyment of your place without being harassed by your landlord. But there's no specific law that says they have to give you 24 hours notice before coming in. Some states have that. They have to, I know in Pennsylvania, they have to give you notice before they come in. They have to let you know in advance. In fact, it was in my lease. In every place I lived in Pennsylvania, the landlord must give notice, 24 hours notice before coming into the property, unless it's an emergency. An emergency is defined by something's going on with the house. I might not be home and they need to come in and, put out a fire, fix a water leak or something. That would be like, okay, you're in a multi-story apartment building. Water's coming into all the apartments below you because a pipe burst under your sink. They have the right to come into your apartment and fix the burst pipe to keep all the, because it's an emergency situation. There's water coming into all the apartments below you. They have the right to come in and take care of that. And so, but it's not meant to, the landlord can just waltz into your place anytime they fucking feel like it to snoop around because it's my property, I can do what I want. No, it doesn't work like that. So, this guy did so much shit that I could take him to court tomorrow and walk away with a judgment in my favor. It's not the point. I just don't want that toxic shit in my life anymore. Keep the fucking security deposit at this point. If I've got to put up a fight to get that back. I mean, everything this guy does. He committed a federal crime just by telling me he's going to throw my mail in the garbage. I could turn around, report that to the post office, and they'll investigate him. And then that could turn out really bad for him. Just that. So all these things. So now, if for some reason I get some sort of letter in the mail, if he fucks with me after leaving that place, in any way, shape, or form, it's on so fucking fierce. I have 7 or 8 different things that I can do legally. I'm not talking about illegal things. Legally, there's 7 different things in my toolbox that I can open up and use against him to make his life a living hell. He does not want to do that. I'm prepared, but it's all being tucked away. It's like I have, it's all just being filed away in case it's needed. But if it's not needed, if I can just go about my life and live my life without being harassed by this guy, then I'm just gonna leave. At this point, it's not worth it. But don't do it. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't come after me. Don't think, oh, because I didn't give you notice when I left, that you're gonna come after me and get something out of me for that, because you're gonna turn around and lose a hell of a lot more than you've already lost. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't feel bad about it. Some of the videos that you were watching, I was wrestling with the fact of whether I should let him know I'm leaving at the end of the month or not. I thought about, at the beginning of May, putting in a 30-day notice. He would have kept my security deposit no matter what. That's number one. Number two, I didn't have a new place bona fide and certified and sanctified and documented and signed until after the 18th. It was sometime during that week when I signed the lease. So the month is already like just about over. We're way past the halfway point in the month. So I'm not giving him 30 days notice. There would have been drama. He would have done something. He's unstable. He's unpredictable. He's vindictive. He's a slime ball. I would not have been able to trust that I can leave for work without him coming in and doing something malicious. So I had this really strong feeling every time I thought about telling him, this strong conviction, don't do it. So I said to God, God, if you want me to tell him I'm leaving, you let me know, because I don't feel like I should. And a day or two after I said that to God, that's the day that the landlord came in when I was at work, reached up and grabbed the camera off the wall and went snooping around. I have a feeling that he came into the place under the pretext of checking the water to see if I was packing my shit to leave. I think that's what he was doing, because he came at me wanting me to pay the rent early, the extra rent. He must be really hard up for cash, because he was asking me if I'd be willing to pay the rent early. And I did pay the rent early, just not to him. So I knew something was going on. And so I never responded to the text. Never said a fucking word to him. And but then that was in the middle of that was, honestly, I think that was the day after I paid rent for this new place and put the down payment down. He comes at me asking me to pay rent early next month. I said, I never responded. I just let it sit. Didn't respond to him. So he probably had a suspicion that something's up. But when he came into the apartment to check the hot water, he was looking around. He was probably checking to see, if all my stuff was being packed and boxes being stacked up and stuff like that. I'm positive that's why he came in there, to check. He was probably oh no, is this guy moving out? And he looked around and he probably got the impression, nope, I guess not. Because I didn't have anything packed at that point. Nothing was packed. Everything looked exact. I did not start packing until about 3 p.m. on Friday, And I was gone at 11 a.m. on Saturday. I was out the door and gone. The place was empty. 3 o'clock Friday, went to bed, went and got the U-Haul, came back, 11 o'clock, we were gone. Gone. So that was fast. And I knew it wasn't going to take long. So I didn't really, I didn't pick apart. I did, to my benefit, because he was convinced when he came snooping around that day that I wasn't going to leave at the end of the month. And then he goes to work the next day or a couple days later, and all of a sudden I'm gone. And he's like, what the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck? It's like that, bitch. So, yeah, he knows he's in the wrong. He knows he's in the wrong. So, and that motherfucker has been in and out of court so many times. I'm sure all the judges know him. So that's the least. He doesn't want to end up back in a courtroom. That's probably the last place that dude ever wants to be found again. So I don't have to worry about this shit moving forward. And I can just relax and be happy that I've got an actual place. The bathroom's over here. The kitchen's over there. Bathroom, kitchen, 2 doors separating. Toilet is in that corner of the house. Food prep is in the opposite corner of a 40-foot long building. The two things couldn't be far enough apart. The place where you poop is all the way in this corner. The place where you prepare your food is in the opposite corner with 2 doors in between. You can't, ain't gonna be no poop molecules getting in my fucking food, that's for sure. So, got 2 sinks, kitchen sink, bathroom sink, hot tub. I'm calling it the hot tub. The little hose, the shower nozzle with the detachable hose is a powerful hose. I have to find something to hold it down to fill the bathtub because it flies around like a fire hose. A fire hose with nobody holding on to it. When you turn on the water, it just goes all over the place. It's like a jet. It's almost like having a jacuzzi jet that you can on your sore muscles and whatnot. It's a ghetto hot tub, but it works, and it's fucking fantastic. I don't care. It's fantastic. I've taken 2 hot baths since I've lived here. I still gotta get some soft scrub and make that tub like shine and make it look good, but it's clean enough for now, and I don't care. I'm gonna soak my weary bones in that hot tub and be just fine. This place will just continue to get better and better as time moves along. But yeah, I'm thrilled about being here. I'm happy. I wish that I had a little bit more. I wish that I had my office a little bit more together, but that's today's project. Hopefully by the end of today, I can be productive again and really start to work 8 to 10 hours a day billable on the. If I can do 40 hours of billable work every week for my freelance business, money will just start pouring in. I would make more money doing that in some ways than I could make more money doing that than the job I just got rejected by. And the fact that this company said I was the best candidate, had the best portfolio, did the best job at the interview, had the best experience out of over a dozen candidates that they interviewed for the same job, and they wanted me more than any of the others, and then they shot me out the door after, oh, you said mean shit on Twitter, we can't hire you. That just proves to me that I need to keep moving forward, because there's going to come a day where all these people that shit on me, all these people that said no, all these people that kicked me to the curb, all these people that threw me out into the street to be homeless, and all these different people are going to see what happened to me as a result of that. And they're going to be like, damn, I could have been a part of that. I could have been a part of that. I could have benefited from this guy. And now I'm just a washed up turd. And look how good he's doing now. And so, that's not the motivation for me to do it. But it's a side benefit of doing it, that I'm going to get to look back and show all these people that didn't think I was worth the time of day that they made a mistake. And to be honest, the fact that they won't give me the time of day, and the fact that I was thrown out in the street to be homeless, and the fact that, these shit jobs like Target and Ollie's and companies like that and DoorDash won't hire me, they're going to force me to become so successful that, maybe I'll put DoorDash out of business someday. I don't know. Maybe I'll get so, that's a little bit lofty, but, I'm going to be successful enough to be happy and secure and be able to do good things for the people I care about and make up for the lost time. And all of these things are going to happen if God wills it. He's not really showing me the opposite. He's, I'm just going to, I'm really not that upset about not getting the job in Houston. I probably would be more stressed out today knowing that I have to spend all next week traveling to and from Houston when I don't own a car. Do I go on Turo and order and rent a car from somebody? But I've read a lot of horror stories about that site. A lot of bad. That does not seem like a good option. The other option was go to U-Haul and get a pickup truck and do a weekly rental for the first week. And they give you 100 miles a day. They charge you $20 a day. No, they charge you more per day. I forget what it is. Let's say $60, $70 a day. I don't remember what it was. Let's just say it's about $100 a day. I'd have to pay like $500 to have a truck for an entire week. 100-mile a day limit. I'd be able to use the truck to get other things done, but I'm going to be dropping some funds on it. But the paycheck that I'm going to get in return will more than cover it. And then after the first week, I'd have to go to Houston Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I would be paying like $300 to rent a U-Haul. Or I could get weaseled in to where I'm like, I'm going to start riding my bike to work because of fitness. And they're all a bunch of liberals. That's one thing about doing user experience design. You're going to be surrounded by a bunch of Democrats. Joe Biden loving pronoun, they all have pronouns on their LinkedIn. He, she, they, them, whatever the fuck. But I'm going to have to go deal with, those kind of people. Oh, you ride your bicycle, that's great. And they're all about the sustainable eco carbon footprint and all that shit. So if I told them I want to ride my bike, all I'd have to say is, yeah, I'm just trying to reduce my carbon footprint, and they'll accommodate you. They'll tell you everything you need to know about riding your bicycle to work. They would not have a problem with that. And you would be like a hero in the leftist community of user experience design if you're riding your bike to the job. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I could take a laptop on Tuesday, leave it there for 3 days, bring it back Thursday after work. There's different things. If I ride in the rain, oh, you're a mega ultra eco hero. Go along to get along, I guess. But I don't have to worry about that now. I don't got to worry about how I'm going to get to downtown Houston all next week. I can just relax, work at the bakery Saturday and Monday, go back to doing my thing, and just see what I can do from here. Maybe I can find a remote job at a startup making the same amount of money and not have to go through a background check and all the bullshit. or I just have more freelance to do. One way or another, I'm going to make it happen. And speaking of making it happen, I have to get off this chair and go make stuff happen. So I'm going to let you go for today. No more videos are being recorded today. One a day until I get all caught up and the timelines are back in sync. So when you see this, it might be a few days behind. I'm getting really close to getting all the videos queued up that I recorded last month. But moving's a pain in the ass. You go through a lot of things. There were a few days, the day I moved, the day after I moved, and the following 2 days, I didn't do anything with the videos. All I did was take videos that I had queued up to go. I was going to have like 7 videos launch on Sunday. And instead I was like, I'm going to reschedule these so that 1 video a day comes out. And yesterday and the day before, I queued up more. I queued up enough in the last 2 days that if everything goes to plan, there's going to be a whole bunch of videos coming out today, a whole bunch coming out tomorrow, which is Saturday, a whole bunch coming out on Sunday, and I have nothing queued up for Monday, with the hopes that Sunday I'll queue up more for the following week and I'll get the timeline back in sync next week. But if Sunday gets here and I realize I'm not going to have time, I've got at least 6 videos I can go boom, 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 and make sure that one shows up every day next week. So this is kind of like a rhythm for me to get. This is kind of like an experiment for me to figure out, like, how do I get into a rhythm where I record a bunch of videos and queue them up? Maybe I take 1 day out of a month and do like 15, 20 different videos and just sit and talk all day, and, you know, whatever they are, break it down, take notes, topical videos. Maybe I start doing bicycle repair videos. Whatever it is, I just start getting into this rhythm where I can queue up a bunch of videos and get them scheduled out to release on certain days of the week, and so that there's always content showing up for you guys, but it's not dated content. It's not what's going on today. And then I have other times where I can just sit in front of the camera, and because my internet connection is pretty good here, I am going to do some live streams. I think that's a good, you know, you guys bitched and I listened. So instead of the delay where you're watching a video about something that happened, you know, a week ago, sometimes 2 weeks ago, whatever, and, you know, all you people that get mad about that, how about I do some live streams? And then somebody else is going to get pissed off that I'm doing a live stream, and I'm sure the trolls are going to love that shit. They're going to be all up in that bitch. The real people, the people who are actually there for good purposes, aren't going to get a word in edgewise because there'll be so many fucking trolls on the live stream that, you know, your chat's just going to disappear in the barrage of hate speech that shows up. But whatever, I'll do some live streams because there's no reason I can't. My upload speed feels pretty strong right now. I'd at least give it a chance. Do one as a test, see if everybody, you know, see if it works. If it goes smooth, do more. If it doesn't, wait until I get a better internet connection, which I am going to do. But right now, my T-Mobile hotspot, for whatever reason, it's working a hell of a lot better here. And I haven't had any issues with it since the day I moved in. And I had Zoom meetings this week that went perfectly smooth. I didn't have any video glitches on the upstream or downstream. Everything was smooth. People were telling me the quality was better. There was no choppiness, no lag, no lower bitrate resolution drop, nothing. It was smooth. So screen sharing went smooth. Everything was smooth. So I'm just going to roll with that. If it supports a live stream, I'll set up, maybe we'll just pick a time and a day of the week where I do a live stream and we can all shoot the shit and have a good time. and I'll just do that on the regular, schedule it and just make it part of my life. Wednesday evening is live stream day. Boom, boom, boom. We do it week after week, and we'll go from there. And I don't know. I just want to have fun, mix it up. I don't want to do the same thing all the time. But I escaped from hell, and like I said, I've got to get stuff done today. In order to do that, I got to let y'all go again, for real this time. So in order to make these things happen, I'm going to say peace out, and we'll talk again.